Welcome to Shepherd's Coffee Talk. You know, many of us are caught in that sandwich generation. Children still at home, trying to find a career, and aging parents. And it's a difficult journey. It's a tough road.
That's why we invited Margaret Gillis from the International Longevity Centre Canada to join us today. The centre advocates for the rights and
Needs of
older people. Mm-hmm. So, Margaret, we wanted to talk to you about this because you're on the front line, advocating, researching, and in your own personal experience too, experiencing some of the challenges that we're all, or have. In my case, I have done that with my mom, but we're all experiencing the challenges of a system that may not be quite as prepared as we would like, or as easy to navigate. Is that true?
That's totally true. And one of the things we're doing at the International Longevity Centre through our advocacy is looking at, first of all, international instruments like the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Older Persons. Mm-hmm. So I am now chairing an international group of more than 50 countries, pushing their countries to sign a convention on the rights of older person, which would enshrine those rights, including things like the right to health care, the right to long-term care. So that's one piece of our work. And I'm also advocating in Canada, and so far I've heard from the current government that we have an election next week, that the door is open, that they're considering supporting it. So one of the things we're trying to do is get support for that, and we will likely start a writing campaign after the election, trying to get people on side so that Canada can lead it, as we did for the rights of the child.
Rights of the child, rights for people with disabilities. We do not have a convention for older people, which is sort of shocking, don't you think?
It is.
Really?
And you're saying Canada is leading the way on this?
No, I'm asking them to.
Oh,
they're not.
Is there any country in the world that is really way ahead?
Interestingly enough, it is the countries, the developing countries, who have been pushing for it, both in South America and Africa. Now, their seniors face far greater challenges than ours do because they don't have healthcare systems, and there's a lot of real incredible abuse going on internationally for older persons. So they are very adamant. But I really think we have lots of reasons to do it here in Canada as well. And Marlene and I were discussing a little while ago just our mothers. So everyone, when we're talking about aging, has that story about their mother where issues happen. Either it could be frailty, it could be in my case, dementia, where you're in the situation where you're now caring for the person who cared for you your whole life. Mm-hmm. And you may be doing that, as Marlene mentioned, with adult children at home or teenage children, and you're really pulled in lots of directions, and it takes a lot of time. The system isn't easy.
Right, the system isn't easy, and the system often isn't as prepared as we would like, or as affordable as people would like. Right. If you don't want to just go the sort of middle of the road route, if you want to make sure they get that special care you would want them to have.
Yeah.
So can you offer some advice for our friends at home watching on how we can best prepare ourselves to navigate these times?
Absolutely. I think a lot of it comes down to preparing and thinking ahead and having that conversation with your mom or dad about what they want to do. And also, respecting their rights and their choices, but also balancing with that their safety and the needs that they may have. So there's a lot of thought that has to go into that. And even as an advocate, it was interesting, my mother needed support, community support. She was in the home with my sister. And even with that, we had to put a lot of pressure, and you have to watch. So I'll give you an example of the kind of thing that can happen that you might want to think about. With the case of my mother, they were sending a different caregiver every day. So you think about a person with dementia, they don't remember why that person's coming. That person's bathing them, so there's a really intimacy there. Oh. And you can't ask a demented person what they need. So my sister, who was working and was trying to get this help so she could continue to work, would have to be there every day to tell them, here's the things the mother needs: laundry done, changed, washed. Right. So we had to really fight the system to get a consistent care worker. So those are the kinds of things you as a working woman then have to take on the system. So there's a lot to do.
And there's a real shortage in the field of people wanting to work in that community, in that organization,
And I
right?
think people too feel grateful just to have the support. So sometimes they don't want to speak up, but you have to find your voice.
Yeah,
and you have
absolutely.
to be able to say, I need consistency here, or I need this. And if you have the means and the resources to make sure you get as much support and help
Absolutely.
as you can, because really, what are you saving that money for? Why not use
Yeah.
just my feeling, but
But is there much on your website? Is there?
Yes,
Can people go to it and
people can
find
go to
some
the
resources?
website and,
Yeah.
and well, not in terms of the actual delivery of services.
No,
So
no,
my
but-
website focuses on more the fight for the convention, the work that we've done at the United Nations. Each year there's a meeting at the United Nations on aging, and so we've been extremely active, the International Longevity Centre Canada, in bringing speakers so that delegates get to hear the real on-the-ground story. So we've had some really fabulous people, such as a woman from the Canadian Grandmother Movement. So this is a Stephen Lewis initiative. This woman is actually African woman, unbelievable speaker, and she came and spoke about what it's like to lose your farm when your families take them in Africa. Women are losing incredible things as a result of growing old, and demented people being pushed out of their homes. So it was very emotional, but it also brings back the kinds of things we have to do to protect our own parents.
it charges you, doesn't it? It sparks you.
It does.
And I think it's something we can all get behind. I mean, this is where we're all going if we're lucky enough
Yeah.
to be older. And Margaret, I know you mentioned to me you're going to Australia.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. So I'm speaking at the Australian Association of Gerontology it'll be the 7th of November, and with an incredible lineup of sort of superstars in the world of aging. And so I'm really thrilled to be a part of that. And I'll be presenting on the convention and the need for the non-governmental organizations, civil society, to get behind the Convention for the Rights of Older Persons and ask those in the audience to join us in that fight. So that's
So
what I'm
you're
doing.
on a very exciting route, right? And
Yeah,
it's
I
a
am.
little off of your path that you were on before, right?
Exactly.
You were in government.
I was in government, and I actually was the director of the Division of Aging and Seniors. And
interesting.
as we discussed, I tripped into that job because I wanted to work with children, and I ended up winning the competition for seniors. And I fell in love with
Yeah,
the issue.
yeah.
I just love the issue, and there's so much to be done.
There's
as
so
we're
much
saying.
to be done.
Yeah.
It becomes a mission and a passion.
It does.
And I think all three of us share that we each have our own passion and mission.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't predict how that's going to fall into your path, but when it does, it's like, oh, this is exactly where I feel I'm supposed to be. So
Exactly.
congratulations on finding your next mission. And this is a wonderful, wise story for women 45, 50 years old. As you start to shift out of one career, don't expect that you may know what the next step is, but just be open-minded to what might
Absolutely.
show
Yeah.
up. So
And passion is important.
It
Yes.
absolutely
And
is.
of course, this subject affects all of us.
all of us,
Exactly.
yes.
Yeah.
So where can we find you?
Well, I'm on the website, ilccanada.org, so feel free to check what we're doing, and we'll keep you updated there in terms of the work that we are doing. We'll also probably be looking in the short term to start corralling NGOs and individuals to start writing the government to say, we need Canada to lead and support a UN Convention on the Rights of Older Persons. We did it for children. When I was working in the children's field, I used to hear all over the world that Canada was the leader that brought in the UN CRC, the Charter on the Rights of the Child. That has had an incredible impact on the lives of children. A drop in 1/3 of child labor in the world as a result
Oh,
of that.
my goodness.
Yeah, and incredibly effective. And also just the rates of immunization have shot through. So their lives, we've saved the lives of millions of people through that work from the Canadian government. So I think, why don't we do that
Bravo.
again?
Do
We're
it.
right behind
Let's
you.
do it.
Thank you for
Congratulations,
joining.
Margaret.
Thank
It was
you.
great to
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy your day.